Hi everyone, I'm Sylleblossom, one of the writing organizers this year, and I'm here with several of my other organizer friends to do our story time today to highlight some of our writing submissions. So with me in the room we have Chaineh and Aeba and Nicole and Allie, and we are going to highlight some of the wonderful writing submissions that we have gotten this year.
Yay! I'm so excited!
Woo! I'm so excited.
We got some really good entrants this year, so I can't wait to get into them.
I'm gonna cry.
Yes.
Not yet.
Get in the mood for big feelings, everybody, because there's some big feelings.
The feels train is pulling into the station.
Choo choo.
So we're going to start off with our very own Allyphant with her story called Winnie the Pooh, Honey Sweet Home. And I'm going to read the description that was submitted to us by Allie to get us in the mood for her piece. Hello, friends. My writing piece this year, Winnie the Pooh, Honey Sweet Home, was inspired by the 100-Acre Wood in KH3. I thought it was interesting what the game did with this world, taking a sort of loss of connection turn. The entire time, Sora was distant, just wanting to fix a problem and then leave as soon as possible. It's clear that there must be something more going on. I thought for sure that the game would explore the path of Sora growing older and the unfortunate reality of having to leave childhood friends behind. That's not what happened. So, I decided to explore it myself, and this story was born. I hope you enjoy it and the lovely cover art made by my good friend Fruitoon.
Shoutouts, Fruitoon!
Woo!
Yo!
Woo!
We love collabs.
Yes.
So with that out of the way, we'll go ahead and read an excerpt from the story that was also submitted to us by Allie that'll sort of give us a sneak peek as to what this story is about.
Zora, would you remind me how old you are, boy?
I'll be 16 soon, next month in March.
Sora tilts his head in confusion.
Why?
Merlin's face grows troubled as they reach Station Heights and sit together on the stone steps.
Would you take a look at that book with a critical eye?
Sora tilts his head in question, but does so earnestly, flipping through the pages and leaving magic dust flying and disappearing into shimmers. When nothing is found, he examines the front, running his fingers over the raised image of Pooh and himself before taking a glance at the back cover, coming up short.
What is it I'm supposed to be seeing, Merlin?
Take a look at the bottom corner, on the back there.
Merlin says gently.
What do you see?
Sora has to squint to read the words.
For
He pauses, struggling to read when realization settles in.
ages 15 and under.
Sora looks to Merlin, hating the grim expression he sees there.
That book is very special. Only one person is allowed inside of its pages at a time. When we first met, I just knew it would take a liking to you.
Merlin hums with a smile before letting his face fall with a sigh.
The one it chose before you was a boy named Christopher Robin. This happened to him too, I'm afraid.
He places a hand onto Sora's shoulder, the weight just as heavy as his next words.
But once he grew up, he and Pooh simply had to say goodbye.
What? But that's awful.
Sora abruptly stands up, shaking his head.
Merlin, that can't happen to me too. I don't want to ever lose my friends.
There was no way Sora could accept this. He and Pooh had a bond like no other, and the 100-Acre Wood, it reminded him of home, of the bees and honey gathered in the backyard from his mother's beehives, the vegetables growing in his grandparents' garden, and the many silly adventures he, Riku, and Kairi embarked on as children. It was an escape he needed when being a Keyblade wielder became too much, a guilty pleasure he regressed in just to be a kid again. Just Sora. He couldn't bear to part with it.
Yay!
I'm crying already.
That was amazing, guys. Wow. Oh, I had a smile the entire time.
Well, it helps when you have such a great excerpt to read.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Also-
you.
I like the pun at the end.
Yeah,
Bear
Yeah.
I was trying so hard not to read that like the pun it was. I really wanted to be like, he couldn't bear to part.
It's really, this whole piece, Allie, this whole piece is so good. I particularly am I have a weakness for that silly old bear, so this, it's such a great way that we capture this thing with like our relationship to things that comforted us in childhood, and how there's always a piece of it that sticks with us even when we get quote unquote too old for it, right? And I think a lot of Kingdom Hearts fans can relate to that, because it is, it's technically a children's game.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like, could you imagine if you weren't allowed to play the Kingdom Hearts games anymore?
Yeah.
As soon as you turned like 16.
Yeah, after like a certain, once you hit E10 plus, you couldn't play anymore.
10 plus.
I'm 10 plus.
Yeah. It shuts off. Like, and it's not like you can't play. It's like the game like physically won't allow you to play it. It keeps shutting off every time you boot it up.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Well, I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, when I played Kingdom Hearts 3, I was like, something's missing.
Yes.
I don't know what it is, and I found it, and I wrote about it. And
Yes.
that was this.
Yes, and you captured that feeling of like how it was just. I have my own thoughts about it, of how like it might be like a little bit of a rush production kind of thing, but then like it definitely was that need of, I needed more 100 Acre Wood and more Winnie the Pooh in this game, and it just. And I also love the details that you created with it, like here in the excerpt, like the how Sora's birthday is in March, or how like like his mom had beehives at home, and
I loved
his
that.
grandparents had a vegetable garden. Oh, such great little like details to flesh out everything and make the world feel lived in, and it's all magic and poo filled, not like, the bad kind of poo, but Winnie the Pooh.
I also like, at least from this excerpt, I like the idea of Merlin and Sora having this kind of almost father-son talk. Because, like, imagine...
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Sora, we need to talk to you about puberty.
the birds and the bees, my dear.
Oh no!
You're too old for these birds and the bees. We need to talk about the other birds and the bees.
No.
One of the things I really like about this piece is that Sora is like obviously we all know this, but Sora is like such a special character. And I really think that this piece like highlights, he's got just this more than anyone else in the series, I think he has this like never give up attitude. And I think that this piece really highlights that. Like, he is not willing to like go down without a fight and be like, well, I'm not just gonna give up on my friends just because I'm getting older. And I know your piece last year was also about Sora's birthday, so I'm really glad to kind of see that return and explore it in like this whole new way. Like, I'm really glad that we have yet another entry to celebrate Best Boy Sora.
It did not start that way. It just sort of happened. Halfway through.
I think the best things just sort of happen.
I mean, Sora's birthday always landing on March Caprice. Like, it's a fitting topic to talk about.
True.
We love our boy. And we love pieces written about our boy, especially by wonderful, wonderful people like Allie.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, this one made me really emotional reading all the way through. I really hope that the rest of y'all like give this one a try, because this one it's emotional, but it's I think it'll be cathartic. Let me put it that way, without spoiling how the story concludes. I think it'll be a nice sense of catharsis for y'all who read it.
Good cry.
Exactly. As a veritable Winnie the Pooh connoisseur, I give my seal of approval, because that means something, right? But like, yeah, it's very good. Very good Winnie the Pooh stuff.
Thank you, Allie, for submitting it.
Thanks for reading it and liking it. Heart.
Yeah.
Woo!
You can read the rest of Winnie the Pooh, Honey Sweet Home in our writer's room on the MarchCaprice.com website. Our next piece for our Storytime collection was presented to us by Light, whose story is called Unbreakable Connections. And they wrote a wonderful description for us, and it's all about Sora and being in Quadratum.
For this piece, I wanted to write a what if for Kingdom Hearts 4. I love the idea of Sora having a neighborhood cafe as a base of sorts. This story is the first step into that idea. I wanted to write a sort of melancholic Sora who is doubting himself without his friends by his side. After going through so much in Kingdom Hearts 3, I like to imagine Sora processing it and reaffirming his path forward with some new unlikely allies. Here's a short summary of what mini-adventure you'll find inside. At a cafe in Quadratum, Sora runs into someone he doesn't expect. There he finds out that many others like him have begun writing letters to those they miss, in hopes that maybe somehow they will receive them. Connections and bonds that persist despite the odds are explored.
In the back of his mind, Sora paints a picture of his life on the island. In it, the sky constantly changed. One day, vibrant blues and bright white clouds dotted the sky like cotton scattered in the wind. On the cusp of night, deep orange was overshadowed by vibrant red, illuminating a calming yet tense sky filled with longing. And at night, a deep abyssal blue threatened to swallow countless tiny stars whole. Still, the Papu tree, the secret place, and days spent idly by the ocean with Riku and Kairi never seemed to change. These images were once scattered across his memory. Those same memories were now the thread still holding him together in an unknown world. Focusing on them helped Sora to maintain his purpose and desires among a sea of unfamiliar people, sounds, and things. In a world where the sky was clouded and tall metal buildings seemed to go on endlessly, the memory of color reminded him just how far away he was from home.
Well, the descriptions in that are just so beautiful and so just like you're right there. You're just reading that. You're right there. You're standing there and you're feeling everything that they're describing and seeing everything. That was so wonderfully put.
Very vivid light. Yeah. Very, very good descriptions. Yes.
I also really like the connections drawn between, at one point, Sora himself did not remember these, and yet now it's these memories that are like holding him together in this new place. I found that like a really cool like juxtaposition just in this excerpt.
Yeah.
I've got a little hunch about this story. And my hunch is this one is also going to make me cry.
Seems that's the theme this year.
Yeah.
Dang.
I think because, you know, we are in kind of this precipice of Kingdom Hearts 4 and all of the big emotions that were coming out of Kingdom Hearts 3, and we don't know what's going on, really. We just have a vague sense of it's not great. So I think that's kind of a cool place to let, especially like your fan fiction pen run wild here, of just like speculating how was this loss, how has this separation felt for all of the characters. And I think this is such a great piece to do it because it's in the cover art, so it's not a spoiler, but Sora does come across a new seventh heaven that has been opened in Quadratum. So Tifa is there. There's a little bit of Zack in there, Cloud's in there. So he kind of connects with these other people that he's come across along his journeys, and he gets a little bit of a renewed sense of purpose with them because, if they were able to make this journey and they were able to reconnect again, go follow KH Guides, able to reconnect with that group of friends, there's always hope to reconnect with your friends again. And I think that's great for both the last piece and this piece as well. It's really beautiful the way they wrote that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really sweet to see Sora connecting with these Final Fantasy characters in a new way. I think it's like Aeba said, I think it's a lot of really fun like speculation in kind of this area that is, I almost want to say, intentionally sort of vague, at least to us at this time. And so I think Light really had a lot of fun speculating with this, and I think she did so successfully. I think it's a really fun way to explore maybe those connections of Sora's that the series itself doesn't really explore as much. As we all know, the Final Fantasy characters weren't really present for KH3, and so this kind of feels sorely needed in that sense. And so I really enjoyed it, and I finding myself curious as to like, who might Sora run into next, or how could this be expanded even, and making Quadratum this cool sort of almost like a new Traverse Town in the sense of like the people that you might find around the corner. I found myself thinking a lot about KH1's Traverse Town, at least the way this was presented. And so I had a blast reading this one, and I know y'all will too.
Yeah. Also, Zach is really good in it, so at least read it for my husband.
Oh, God.
Absolutely.
We're crying. Zach Bear. Ah.
Do you think that Sora gets like some chick in his seventh heaven, and the way that Zach walks up is like, those wings, I want them too.
I was like, where are you going with the wings? Obviously, there is.
I hate that so much.
Everybody boo Chain.
That's my favorite. No!
Oh.
That's like my favorite Final Fantasy VII joke. I've never finished a Final Fantasy kiss.
Oh my god. Going back to towards the end of this excerpt about the memory of color reminded him oh god, for some reason I got like Epic Mickey vibes from that, and I was like, man, it'd be kind of cool to see, you know, Epic Mickey and Oswald and stuff, and maybe they're in Quadratum.
Maybe. Meeting friends old and new.
Yeah, that's the thing with Quadratum. Like, the world's your oyster. At least from like a writing standpoint at this point. Make up anything you want, and I'm so glad for that concept because we get great pieces like this one.
And you can read the rest of Unbreakable Connections by Light in our writer's room on marchcaprice.com. The next piece we are going to discuss is Oblivion, or just Vienne, if you're nasty. Her piece titled Your Moment and Mine. And Vienne says, my written piece is titled Your Moment and Mine. In this work, I describe a serene moment in the secret forest where Kairi and Naminé coexist together, sharing their time together. But during this time, they come to realize the moments are different. This piece was heavily inspired by Kairi's speech in Kingdom Hearts 3, where she says if Naminé was with Kairi and Lee in the forest, the way she would see and feel the world would be different. It was such a sweet moment, and one of the first moments we see about the complexity of their relationship with each other. Since we didn't get a moment between the two of them yet, the way that Roxas and Sora have in other games like Recoded or Dream Drop Distance, I imagine this happened not long after KH3 ended. And I just wanted to spotlight these two since I feel both characters, and especially their dynamic together, is underrepresented in a lot of circles in the fandom. Very true.
Sisters.
Yes.
Give them sisters.
Give them their lives back.
Give them screen time and also scenes.
Yes.
Yes.
As an aside, I've noticed that there's like a lot of appreciation for the female characters. Like, in almost all of the writing entries are about that. My piece is about that. I've seen other submissions that have been about that. So it's really gonna be like a real WHM first.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a reason my March Caprice happens during Women's History Month.
That's true.
yes.
That's true.
Kingdom Hearts might not respect women, but we do.
We do.
Heck yeah.
Being so caught up in all of her senses, Naminé didn't even notice Kairi tiptoe up to her. Feeling something soft be placed upon her head caught her off guard, making her jump a bit at the new sensation. She still wasn't used to feeling an actual heart pump in her chest. Her lips spread thin across her face as her fingers graced gently across the petals of the wildflowers. They were so fragile but still so lovely. Naminé adored them. Kairi took Naminé's hands, holding them tight in her grasp. It was almost like she was afraid Naminé would disappear again. Naminé was a bit afraid herself, but she knew she wouldn't fade away. After everything her friends did for her, she knew she was here to stay.
This moment is ours.
Naminé told her, squeezing the other girl's hands.
And it's beautiful.
Kairi just shook her head, her smile matching the blonde's.
No, Naminé. This is your moment.
Not understanding, Naminé tilted her head.
What do you mean?
We may be here together, but we're experiencing this in different ways. The way the breeze feels on your skin isn't how it feels on mine. How the flowers feel in your hair isn't the same as me. Even the way the air smells isn't how it smells to me. We are experiencing this together, but your perspective isn't the same as mine. This moment is mine
but it is your own moment, too.
Hearing her words, tears were brought to Namine's eyes. Overwhelmed with warmth and adoration, she embraced the other girl. Her arms used all of her strength to hold Kairi close. She wasn't afraid to lose her. She knew she wasn't going to. She wanted to use her form to show her gratitude. Kairi hugged her back just as tight, having no desire to let go of her dear friend anytime soon. 2 moments side by side, but never crossing. Parallel, no matter how close. They could be the same, just like the 2 girls. But the 2 girls aren't the same. They're different. Each of them their own person, and every moment they share is the exact same as them, no matter how similar.
Thank you, Kairi.
No, thank you, Namine. Guess who got to thank Namine first, bitch?
She deserves it. She deserves it.
I love this.
Guess who's crying again?
I was gonna
Yeah.
say that! I'm getting a little teary just reading that.
Who has 2 thumbs and is crying? Everyone watching Storytime.
I was just gonna say I really like that this is centered on Namine. And I think
Yeah.
that Vianne does a really great job at making you feel like what Namine feels, and further than that, distinguishing it from Kairi, because as I know, we all know, Namine's experience has largely been defined by both Kairi and Sora, and so I really like seeing this piece that sort of defies that and is like, no, she is her own person now, and everything she experiences is going to be unique to her, and I thought that was a really cool direction to go with this character.
Yeah. And she also has such descriptive language here, and it, like you can feel the petals dropping on Namine's head, but like not only is she like descriptive as a narrator, she has made this artistic choice and authorial choice to have Kairi also be like very well descriptive in her own dialogue. So it's like, and she differentiates between the two of like the narrator voice describing things and also Kairi describing things, and they're both very descriptive but also in very different ways, and that is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
We love art. Oh, go ahead, Allie.
We love art.
I was gonna say we love our writer Kairi.
Mm-hmm.
Just the dialogue in this, like everything they say is so in character and it's so well written, and they just build off of each other as building blocks that work together, but they're not the same, as Kairi and Namine are not the same either anymore. And just coming with that realization of Namine realizing that, oh, I can feel things, like, oh, she feels the like flower crown be put on her head, and other things. And I will be honest, I did get to see this one early. Oblivion did reach out to me asking if it was all right to submit, and I looked at this and I was like, well, I'm crying, so yeah, I'd say please submit it. I love this, please. And it's just, all I can say is just read it. Just read it. It's a masterpiece.
It's a very warm feeling piece. It'll make you feel so comfy, cozy.
Yeah, it's a really like quiet moment, which is like not something we often see in KH, and so I think that that's one of the strengths of this piece, because it really highlights these necessary moments that, in all honesty, probably do happen off screen, but just getting to like speculate on how one of those moments might have gone is just like really exceptional to me.
Yeah.
I also feel like, especially with the dialogue, there isn't a whole lot here, but it says so much. You know, like every word in here counts in terms of like the dialogue between Kairi and Namine. There's so much depth to it that comes from an understanding of both of those characters.
Yeah.
See, this is the benefit of coming to the writer's workshop. You join, get some feedback on your work, and come out with a significantly fantastical piece. You know, clearly I didn't go to the writer's workshops, so those were bad adjectives. But if you went, you could get better adjectives.
You could write good.
Don't be a chain. Go to the writer's workshop. Should read it.
You should read it, yeah.
Should read it.
Do it now.
Yeah.
Do it.
Do it right now.
And you can read Your Moment and Mine in the writer's room of our website at marchcaprice.com.
And now, since we have had such an appreciation for the girls in the stories, it's time to continue that, because our next story is Bright Star 7's piece, which is all about Shion. Everybody clap for Shion, please.
Yay!
Yay!
Yes.
In the description that Bright submitted to us, he wrote, Puppet with little to no recollection of her past awakens in the Keyblade graveyard, where she is forced to participate in the forging of the Keyblade. Memories begin to resurface when the wielder of a Keyblade identical to hers enters the fray.
Ooh, what could it be about?
Who could it be?
Who are you?
Axel asked.
See?
The raspy voice from before echoed in my head.
He promised to keep you in his thoughts. He promised you'd never be apart. Fight! Kill him!
I aimed my weapon at his head. Despite Xemnas' order, despite the voice, my hand shook. I looked away from his eyes.
Kill him!
I raised my head and prepared to finish him. Before I could, someone grabbed my arm and pushed the Keyblade away from Axel.
Don't do this.
Sora pleaded. I felt more memories flowing from his hand. More days atop the usual spot in Twilight Town. More ice cream and beautiful sunsets. More feelings that I had experienced. I let out a gasp and shoved him away. I began to slam my Keyblade against his over and over. With every collision of our weapons, more memories were shoved into my heart. Crash!
You earned the icing on the cake.
Roxas said happily. Crash!
When Axel gets back, we'll all have ice cream together.
He had promised. Crash!
Easy. Are you hurt?
He asked as he reached to help me off the ground. Crash!
We're here for you if you ever want to get it off your chest.
Axel said gently.
Wait.
Sora struggled to speak under the weight of my onslaught. I couldn't stop. The memories were no longer peaceful days in Twilight Town. They were becoming painful. I didn't want this. Crash!
This Keyblade is a sham. Worthless.
Silver-haired boy said as he tossed my Keyblade to the ground. Crash!
How could he? How could that jerk attack you like that?
Roxas said, not looking me in the eyes. Crash!
Go on, you just keep running. But I'll always be there to bring you back.
Axel yelled while summoning a blazing chakram. I let out a scream and brought down my Keyblade one last time. Crash!
Who else will I have ice cream with?
Roxas had pleaded.
It's all right. You can stop now.
Sora begged again.
It's all right. Shion.
It wasn't Sora's voice that said my name. It was Roxas. Tears began to slip out of my eyes. I let the weapon fall to the ground and began to cradle my head. It wasn't physically hurting as it had been before. I just couldn't handle the memories and the emotions they brought.
Useless puppet.
Xemnas muttered. Sharp pain shot through my ribs as his foot met my chest. My hood slipped off as I was propelled backwards into Sora. My head hit the ground and the world went dark once more.
Also, Allie, that was like a beat for beat perfect impression.
Yeah.
That was
holy
perfect.
crap.
I loved that.
Best line read
thank
out of
you.
the whole thing.
I was like, for Roxas, I was like hunched over, like I had a hand on my neck, like, okay, don't make it sound like what I just said. So I'm glad it worked out. Yay.
Yay. Yes, and this is such a great piece from Bright Star. It really gets into like the nitty gritty of like obviously it's the same scenes that you've seen before in Kingdom Hearts 3, but now it's like it's from the perspective of Shion as like it's like, and especially in this excerpt you see it's a really good excerpt of the piece. It just this point of like all of this tension like breaking and snapping of all of these memories coming by and it's flying at you, and I love like the onomatopoeia of all the crashes and how each one of them is segmented by these all of these like it goes from like all of these the stabbing pain of oh my god, it used to be so happy to the stabbing pain of oh my gosh, she's been through so much and now finally she's here and she's here and she's here. And she like it's all coming together, it's all crashing down around her. Lots of emotion. It's really cool.
I'll tell you, I will never be able to see that scene from Kingdom Hearts 3 again without thinking about this. That's how well the tension builds throughout this piece and how well he wrote it. Like,
Yeah.
This is amazing.
So this, when I'm reading this excerpt alone, I just kind of want to like make a video editing the scene to match this.
Right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that would be really good.
So hey, Bright, if somebody's reaching out to you about that, it's me.
Now, I don't read, but you know, I gotta keep up my appearances as a Kingdom Hearts fan. So, but the few readings that I do read, I always love when somebody takes a pre-existing scene and shifts it to a different point of view. That's like my favorite thing. I love how it gives more context for an already existing scene. I love how it adds weight. It adds more weight to it. It's beautiful.
Makes it nice and hefty. And it's also fun because, like, I feel like we've gotten this scene a couple times now, right? Once in 3 and then once in Remind. But the both of them are not, like, kind of checking into, like, the kind of the most important part of the scene, which is what's going on in Shion's head. Right? I mean, this is the point of the most tension. So, you know, blind spot in the Kingdom Hearts writers' face is anything that has to do with the women. So, like,
Whammon. Say that again.
Thank you so much, Bright Star, for fixing that.
Yes, thank you.
Like, yeah, to go off of that, this really isn't something we get a whole lot of elaboration on, even in Remind. Like, the elaboration that we do get is more Sora focused than Shion focused.
Yep.
And so I think this piece really just like excels at getting inside of her head. Like, of course, we've all seen the scene. Like, we know what the conclusion is. We know that Shion is going to get her body back and her memories back, and she's going to be reunited with her friends. We know that. And yet it's almost like I forgot it when I was reading this story, because it does just such a good job of like putting you in that frantic headspace.
Yeah.
Like, it felt straight out of the series. If they had like chosen to zoom in on Shion instead, I would like to believe that it would be something like this. Like, it feels really in line with something that the series would do. And so I think this piece is like really, really strong, and like reading it, it's really powerful. Like, I definitely encourage you all to go read the rest of this in our writer's room on our MarchCaprice.com website, because it's just no, but it really is. It gripped me reading this, and I'm so excited to for all of you to get to read that as well.
Really cool.
Very Women's History Month. I approve.
Yeah.
Love it.
We love women.
Women approved.
Speaking of Women's History Month, the next piece that we are going to look at is POH's story, A Heart Unchained. I will now commence to read the description that POH sent to us. With this piece, I wanted to give the original Princesses of Heart some time in the spotlight, especially one of my favorites, Cinderella. She's had an undeserved reputation for being weak, but the Cinderella that I saw in the animated film was hopeful, determined, and kept herself going until the right opportunity to escape presented itself. And I love the idea of the princesses befriending each other. Unfortunately, I ended up leaving Jasmine and Belle out of the story to keep it from getting too long, but I think it worked out better that way. We all know Belle and Jasmine are awesome, so this piece gave the classic girls some time to shine. I really do agree there on almost every point that POH made. Just because, like, between the original time and the Renaissance Disney movies, there was just a little bit more spunk given to the later princesses. So, like, this definitely gives the old ones some personality there, Barbara.
And here we have POH's excerpt. Past experiences had taught Cinderella that she could run in a ball gown and glass slippers if necessary. But it wasn't ideal. Not at a ball being thrown for a prince, and not in the dungeons of an unfamiliar castle in an unfamiliar world. The night after the Heartless kidnapped her, the mistress of the castle paid her a visit. Cinderella remained sitting on her bed and regarded the woman without a word. She certainly made an impression in her black robes and headpiece shaped like two twisted horns. A raven perched on her shoulder. Both of them had the exact same smirk. Something about the woman's face and elegant tone of voice reminded Cinderella of her stepmother.
Greetings, Your Highness. It's an honor to have you as our guest. My name is Maleficent.
The false charm, the pretense that Cinderella wanted to be under the woman's complete control, that was Lady Tremaine's style as well. Cinderella squared her shoulders and returned a smile of her own. Fortunately, she'd been dealing with this sort of situation longer than Maleficent might have realized.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Maleficent's smirk grew. She must have come to the conclusion that she was dealing with a simple-minded princess, unfamiliar with cruelty and easily manipulated.
Good.
We hope you will be comfortable here.
She continued.
Meals will be brought to you thrice a day. Should you need anything, ring this bell.
She gestured to a rope hanging by the cell door.
And one of my servants will attend to you.
Cinderella pretended to think it over.
Well, I would like a change of clothes. This is my favorite dress, but it's not very comfortable for sleeping.
Maleficent stroked her raven's feathers.
I'm afraid that won't be possible. We don't have any spare clothing befitting of a princess of heart.
Princess of Heart.
Cinderella had no idea what that meant, but it sounded important. Likely the reason that she'd been kidnapped in the first place. Perhaps she wasn't the only princess in the dungeons.
Oh, I don't mind.
She replied brightly, still smiling, still keeping her hands politely in her lap, no concern for her circumstances whatsoever.
I used to wear the same ragged dress when I cleaned my stepfamily's house. I'd be comfortable in just about anything.
Maleficent looked into her eyes, really looked, for the first time. Cinderella held her gaze and hummed a little tune that she'd often sang to herself in her attic bedroom.
Maybe I'm acting a little too innocent.
At last, Maleficent said,
No, you should stay in your gown you wear now. It suits you.
Cinderella nodded.
Well, it was worth a try to ask.
Clap, 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 clap.
Have you ever wanted a story that was Solid Snake-esque, starring Cinderella from the Walt Disney classic 1940, you know?
How did you know?
I love the Walt Disney classic Metal Gear Solid.
Isn't that what Kingdom Hearts is?
It's true. This is yet another really great piece to have here. There's so much detail here, and I love the way that POH personified Cinderella in this as a very she has her checklist that she goes through. She has her escape plan. She has her maps. She gets it done. And just it's such a cool, obviously this is taking place during Kingdom Hearts 1, and while Maleficent is collecting all of the other princesses of heart, and if you go and you read this story on the March Caprice website in the writer's room in the artist alley, hello, you'll see this kind of Cinderella who is who obviously has this history of just kind of biding and waiting her time and striking when the time is right. And it's just this perfectly executed plan. And she uses all of Cinderella's past skills, talking to animals. What animals does she find in the dungeons of Hollow Bastion? Well, you'll have to go read the story to find out.
So I just love things that fill in the gaps.
Mm-hmm.
And I know fanfiction overall and other writing pieces like this will do that. But again, it's so cool to, what people think maybe what was going on with the other Princesses of Heart in KH1. Because we didn't get to see that, at all. Except for, Alice and Jasmine and, a little bit of Snow White in an alternate cutscene. But it's just so cool. And again, it just leans on the strengths of each of the princesses.
Yeah.
That's one of the bigger things that struck me about this piece is that not only is it characters that we don't really get to spend time with, at least in the context of KH, it's also a time period that's just kind of glossed over. And I'm not even criticizing KH1 for that. It's kind of necessary because KH1 is about Sora and Sora doesn't know any of this going on. But I think it's just such an interesting thing to really like explore. And so this really stuck out to me in a major way because of it. Like the last thing I expected was a piece that took place during this time period and that focused on the princesses of heart, and especially one that centered around Cinderella. I think she's characterized in a way that is both true to her movie and in a way that's like gives her agency and like makes her proactive in this story, which I really, really, really like. Like I cannot stress enough that y'all need to read this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cinderella is definitely one that most people put on the back burner as like, oh, she's just like one of those classic princesses that doesn't do anything. And no, that's not true. And definitely it shows in this piece. Shout out to our very good friend Ruthie who loves Cinderella to pieces. I really hope that they love this piece.
It's a wonderful dream.
Yes.
A wonderful dream. I wanted to do her voice justice, Ruthie. I hope I did.
Yes. I think you did.
Cute. Yeah, it's really, really cute. And like once you get into the story a little bit and you start to see like the personification of the other princesses of heart as well, it's when it starts like coming together. It's really nice.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
I gotta say, it's another one of those works that's from a different point of view that we didn't get to see in the games.
Yeah.
So naturally, I love it. One other detail that I really liked about this is kind of giving, at least from this excerpt, giving kind of connections between Cinderella and Aurora through Maleficent and Lady Tremaine. I like the idea that maybe Cinderella and Aurora can trauma bond a little bit.
Not only because everybody say not only.
Not only.
Because of like the voice actresses are the same for
exactly
both Maleficent and Lady
true.
Tremaine and Cinderella and Aurora. I could have just said the princesses and like their villains, but you know I wanted to say more words.
Be complicated. We love it.
Yeah.
I just want to say I love the princesses of heart. I love the concept of them since I was a little girl, and I've hated we haven't had a lot with them, so this made me very happy.
Yeah.
Happy Women's History Month.
Happy Women's History Month.
Happy WHM.
Happy March
WHM.
Caprice History Month.
Yeah. March Caprice.
MCWHM.
Women's.
With March Caprice.
Women's Caprice.
Women's Caprice.
Women's Caprice.
March.
You know, this really is shaping up to be a Women's Caprice.
Good.
March is Women's History Month and also March Caprice.
March Caprice. At this time of day, this time of year, localized entirely in your Discord server.
Yes.
And you can read A Heart Unchained by POH in our writer's room on marchcaprice.com. As well as all of the writing pieces that we have shown here today in Storytime, and also the greater writing category as well. There's plenty that we haven't been over, and there's plenty that you need to get to reading. Hello.
What are you doing? You need to be reading them.
You nerds.
Expand
do
your
it.
brain.
Read it and cry like we did.
We cried and now all of you must.
Yes.
That
please
is
cry
true.
with us.
Share
Yes.
our hurt.
Their hurting must be ended if you want to mend it.
Become Data Roxas.
Yeah.
Conquer hurt. Be sure to join us tomorrow, Wednesday, March 27th at 5 EDT for our cosplay catwalk.
And that concludes our Storytime showcase for the 2024 March Caprice year. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow and have a good March Caprice. Ready, everybody? Happy March
Happy
Caprice!
March Caprice!